Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Album Spotlight. This is the show where I put the spotlight on a new prog album that I think you guys might like and enjoy, just giving a brief description of the album and letting you guys decide for yourselves if you like what you hear about and want to go check it out. So today I've got a really cool one. It's a little bit of a holdover that I've had waiting in the wings that came out a couple months ago, but I wanted to make sure to get around to it because it's an album I've really been loving and enjoying, and the whole point of this show weekly is to try to spotlight all the main albums that I really enjoyed throughout the year, so that when I do my big end of year countdowns and such, that they're albums that you should be familiar with if you've been watching my reviews throughout the year. So I wanted to make sure to cover this one. Also, it's been a little bit of a busy week, so I felt like it made sense this week to pull in something I'd already listened to previously and that I had notes already about. And I have a lot of other new albums that I'm looking into and listening to, but I felt like they need a little bit more time before I feel comfortable talking about them to you guys. So that's basically why I have this album to talk about today. But the album I'm talking about is called Radio Silence by the band Rain. This is almost like a supergroup type deal of sorts with some notable members in the makes here. This is a UK-based act. This is their second album. The lineup is Rob Graucut on vocals, guitars, and keyboards, Mirren Webb on vocals and guitars. You've got Andy Edwards on drums and additional instruments, and John Jowett on bass. So I'm familiar with Andy Edwards, who's a drummer who's played with the likes of Frost and IQ. John Jowett is also a name that I'm familiar with, who's played with a lot of cool neo-prog bands like IQ and Arena and Jadis, as well as Frost and Blind Ego. So a lot of notable players here in the makes, and what we have here is a really cool mixture of some symphonic prog, some neo-prog that these members bring into the influence, but it's also a bit of that more quirky pop prog kind of thing that I really enjoy, the likes of like XTC from the 80s, even some old school Beatles influences in some of the melodies and the harmonies, and that's a style that I really latch on to and really love. So when I hear that, it just really brings a smile to my face, and I just enjoy those poppier hooks into this prog aesthetic, and making that sort of stew is just really a combination that really speaks to me. So the album is just a blast to listen through. All the tracks are fairly short for prog, at least. There's a couple tracks up into the about 8-minute range. That's what you get. But then there's also some shorter tracks that lean more into more compact, poppier packages. You start off with a little bit of an introductory instrumental called Janao, a really fun and energetic, this somewhat neo-synth prog opening, leading into Hypnosis, which is a really cool prog pop alternative type sound, almost dipping back into, like I said, that 80s quirky pop rock like XTC. There's a delightful, funky, jazzy breakdown on bass and keys, leading to a really fun keyboard bit and great instrumental section, giving all the members of the band a chance to shine in the makes here. This is a really cool blend of stuff. I really like how they can focus on great melodies and great songcraft and writing, but they also leave themselves a little bit of space to explore some instrumental passages and some chance to feature the musicians and their playing level, because you get a lot of great instrumental moments also. Something new gives us some really quirky guitar plucks with a fun off-kilter vocal. Then the band almost comes in with a reggae type sound. A fun ride of 80s post-punk exuberance is how I thought of this. Just a really fun, exciting, poppier track. Radio Silence is a more understated ballad with some plaintive keys and mournful vocals. Almost a Porcupine Tree type vibe in the melancholy type way that this is pulled off. And a really great guitar solo that gives this track a great emotional heft. Solid State returns to those poppier XTC quirky influences, really fun, a great busy bass line. We also get some instrumental sections that bring to mind prog references like Yes and Genesis, and then treated to some acoustic guitar leading into a full band quirky section with the off-kilter Crimson style vocals. So you get the full gamut of different sounds and styles even just in one track. Bring It Back is a really cool poppy track, almost has a Beatles flavor in the verses, almost that power pop vibe that I really like. excellent high energy chorus with excellent hooks really shines. Some cool proggy keyboards leading into some instrumental bits. Get a classic rock type driving instrumental section with some proggy flourishes on top and a great blistering guitar solo. Just a great chance for the band to jam out. There's also a cool section where it gets a little bit more folky and dreamy and then brings it back to this original chorus. So really cool track here, really fun, bringing those poppier but proggier bits together in a really interesting way. Never Ending Circle gives us almost a funky groove and great bass line, some almost chanting vocals and bubbling keyboards. Just really repeats a really cool, sweet groove and gets you into that really great feel and that funky vibe. I really like that track. Winter Sun is just a beautiful piano interlude, great palette cleanser and beautifully played, of course, leading into the mini epic that closes the album, Fear in the Night, beginning with acoustic guitars and vocals. It gives this little haunting, early King Crimson-esque vibe before the band comes in with some heavy heft, hearkening to almost an alternative or grunge sound, I thought, but with some Beatles-esque vocal melodies on top. There's also some Spanish-style guitar in here. We get some cool acoustic guitar strumming and a dark vocal melody on top, and then they really bring it home with some power and an almost mesmerizing effect, leading to another cool top-notch guitar solo towards the end. So really cool set of songs. There's something fun and interesting in each track. There's a lot of cool diversity here, some poppier influences, some quirky bits, and it just makes for a really fun, entertaining listen all the way through. So I recommend this one to you guys, especially if you like the pop prog feel that I tend to enjoy and talk about a lot on this channel. It has a lot of that, but also doesn't forget its heritage with some cool prog roots as well mixed into the batch, and just is a really fun listen. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you appreciated this rundown, and maybe it'll inspire you to go check out this album if you haven't heard it yet. If you have heard it, please feel free to chime in the comments how you feel about the album and some of your favorite bits from it. So I'd really appreciate that. So thank you guys so much for joining me here, and I hope you have a great rest of your week and will join me in future videos. Thanks everybody. Bye.